Through its research and convenings, the Center on Philanthropy and Public Policy seeks to make philanthropy more impactful today and to create a smarter, stronger sector for tomorrow.
Just to get us started, I wanted to put up some recent headlines of newspaper coverage of philanthropy and education. And what you'll notice is you're not seeing the sort of old story that you might have read 10, 15 years ago of a nice celebratory announcement of a new $15 million grant and pretty short, move on from there. A lot of it is now focusing on the political influence of these funders. And this is particularly pronounced in education philanthropy. And these are coming from news sources like the New York Times and the Charlotte Observer. And what I'm trying to do in my work and what I'll talk about today is sort of look behind the story about what's happening here, what's really changing about education philanthropy, and what can we say about its intersection with politics. When you're talking about education, politics, and policy, you really can't quite see the full process play out unless you look at the place where so many of the decisions are still being made, and that's at the local level. And part of what I argue is that different political contexts seem to lead to very different types of outcomes when philanthropy is involved. So I created a model, it's in the book, but I'll talk you through it right here, that I looked at the 100 largest school districts, and I had characteristics like poverty and graduation rate, actually the density of nonprofit organizations. And the factor that I found to be most important for explaining where grant dollars were going was actually this governing factor. Districts with mayoral or state control get a lot more money, and that is very important. So top grant recipients include New York City, Chicago, Oakland, Boston. None of these districts have elected school boards. In each case, the mayor is appointing a board, appointing the person in charge of the schools, or the state is in control, as is the case in New Orleans. Los Angeles emerges as kind of this exception, where there's a lot of philanthropic activity and an elected school board. And I thought it would be quite interesting to compare what I saw as sort of the dominant strategy to something that's different. Here in Los Angeles, it's really been charter schools throughout, many of which are operated by charter management organizations, so these larger nonprofits that oversee a whole system of charter schools, some of which are large enough to resemble small school systems in their own right, but fully managed by a nonprofit organization. So the money in each of the districts kind of matches up with these strategies. Los Angeles defied my expectations. It's not really a divided network, and it's not really divided along any of the lines I might have expected, whether you're talking about who gets major foundation grants, who works in the charter sector, or any sort of alignment along those political lines. Instead, there's a great deal of diversity in terms of who is sharing information with one another.
We invite you to join our effort as we continue to shape the field of philanthropy.